One woman. One blanket. One outrageous demand to turn the plane around. What started as a cold seat turned into a meltdown no one on board will ever forget. Subscribe now to keep enjoying the content. For most passengers on Flight 627 from New York to Los Angeles, it was just another ordinary trip, or so they thought. But one passenger, Karen, had other plans. She was about to turn their calm, uneventful flight into an unforgettable roller coaster at 35,000 feet. Peace? Not on her itinerary. Karen, seated in 3B, was already making waves before the plane had even taken off. As soon as she boarded, she gave the flight attendants the once-over like they were contestants on a game show. No sooner had the plane left the runway than Karen kicked off her in-flight performance. "I cannot believe how cold it is in here," she announced to absolutely everyone within earshot. "I'm literally freezing." A young guy sitting nearby, clearly amused, leaned over and said with a grin, "Would you like my hoodie? It's brand new, just bought it on my way to the airport." Still got that fresh out of the store vibe. Karen gave him a sideways glance and replied, "No thanks," with the dramatic flair of someone politely declining a life raft on the Titanic. A few minutes later, Karen struck again. "Excuse me, miss," she called out, well, more like bellowed, loud enough to make half the cabin jump. Flight attendant Anna, who had just set down a tray of snacks in the galley and was likely savoring 3 whole seconds of peace, turned to see Karen waving her over like she was flagging down a rescue chopper. "Yes, ma'am? How can I assist you?" Anna asked with her customer service smile. "I need a blanket," Karen demanded. "It's freezing in here." Anna blinked. "We've just reached cruising altitude, ma'am. The cabin tends to cool down a little. We do have blankets on board. Let me grab one for you." Karen wasn't done. "I want one right now. You're making me freeze, and I don't tolerate bad service." As Anna rushed to get a blanket, Karen's complaints didn't stop. She called over another flight attendant. "Excuse me. Your Wi-Fi is an embarrassment. I paid for first-class service, and this is not acceptable. I demand a full refund." Mark, the second flight attendant who had just stepped into the scene, offered a sympathetic nod. "I'm really sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am," he said politely. "Looks like the Wi-Fi might be having a bit of a moment. We appreciate your patience while it sorts itself out." Karen's face flushed an even deeper shade of red, somewhere between mildly annoyed and volcano about to erupt. "Technical difficulties? Spare me," she huffed. "I'm a very important person, and I expect better. This is not how you promote yourselves online. You promised luxury, but what I'm getting feels like a budget layover in disappointment. And trust me, this isn't going to end well for you." The flight attendants exchanged nervous glances, but Anna, trying to keep it together, handed over the blanket. "Here you go, ma'am. Please let us know if you need anything else." Subscribe now to keep enjoying the content. Karen, however, was on a roll now. "I can't believe you're treating me like this," she scoffed, tossing the blanket over her shoulders as if it were some sort of insult. "I am a paying customer, and I deserve to be treated like royalty. It's freezing in here, and the service is pathetic." A few rows away, a passenger quietly whispered to his seatmate, "I bet the Wi-Fi's down," because Karen broke it with her demanding energy. The man's neighbor, a middle-aged woman, nodded. "She's one step away from demanding the plane turn around." The words hung in the air for a moment, and it was like the universe heard them. Karen, clearly overhearing the conversation, shot up from her seat, her face suddenly lighting up with the most ridiculous idea anyone could imagine. She spun toward the front of the cabin, grabbed the armrest, and loudly proclaimed, "Excuse me, I need to speak to the captain immediately." The entire cabin fell silent. Anna, trying to maintain her composure, took a deep breath and leaned toward her. "Ma'am, the captain is quite busy. Is there something I can help you with?" "I need to talk to him," Karen demanded, her voice increasing in volume. "Tell him I demand this plane turn around and go back to New York. I forgot my favorite sweater at home. I need that sweater. It's from a limited edition collection." Limited edition, do you understand? And there's no way I'm going to LA without it. This is a travesty. I can't believe I'm being treated like this. A few passengers muttered under their breath, while the man who had offered her a hoodie earlier whispered, "Here it comes." "I'm so sorry, ma'am," Anna said, trying to de-escalate, but Karen was not hearing it. "We're in the air, and it's not possible to turn around. We're more than an hour into the flight." "Oh, I don't care," Karen shrieked. "This is outrageous. I demand a refund, and I want this plane to turn around now. You people are wasting my time. Do you know who I am?" A passenger from the back row raised his hand. "Yeah, you're the person who just broke the Wi-Fi with your demands." The entire cabin burst into laughter, and even Anna couldn't help but chuckle. But Karen wasn't done yet. She stood up and started pacing the aisle. "I'm not sitting here in silence. You people are lucky I don't tweet about this whole thing. I'm going to tag every airline, every blogger, and every influencer who will listen to my plight." The flight attendants tried everything. They offered her snacks, extra water, even a pair of headphones to drown out the noise. But Karen wasn't budging. She began circulating the cabin, stopping at random seats to complain about how the air conditioning was too cold, how her seat didn't recline enough, and how the complimentary peanuts were so stale they could break a tooth. "I demand the captain make an announcement about the incredible level of inconvenience I've suffered today," Karen shouted. Subscribe now to keep enjoying the content. Mark, the flight attendant, had reached his limit. He stepped up to her aisle, maintaining just enough professionalism to keep from rolling his eyes. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "the captain is aware of your request. But let me be clear, this flight is not turning around." Karen didn't even let him finish. With a sharp inhale and a muttered curse, she shoved past the nearest passengers and stormed toward the front of the cabin. Before she could reach the cockpit door, the captain's voice cut through the cabin, calm but firm over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been made aware of a disruption on board. For your safety and the safety of those around you, please remain in your seats. Any further interference will be met with immediate action. Thank you." "That's it," Karen shouted, her face turning bright red. "I'm not taking this anymore. I'm too important to be treated this way." She stormed up to the galley and began yelling at the flight attendants. "I'm getting off this plane. I'm going to report all of you. All of you. You'll see, I'll have your jobs." Anna's patience, long stretched to its limits, finally snapped. "Ma'am, if you don't sit down immediately, we'll be forced to call law enforcement." "Call them," Karen yelled. "I'll sue you for everything you've got." She stood in the aisle, red-faced, breathing heavily, her blouse slightly rumpled from tossing and turning in her seat. Her voice, already elevated for the past hour, now tipped into full-on outrage. "This is unacceptable. I told you, I will not be trapped on this plane another second." Passengers turned. Some groaned. Others glanced at each other, silently communicating the universal "Is this really happening?" She yanked open the overhead compartment above row 12 with sudden force. A heavy roller bag tumbled out and hit the floor with a solid thud. Before anyone could react, she flung it into the aisle. Then another. And another. Gasps filled the cabin. One man, whose bag had just been launched like a sandbag, stood up abruptly. "Hey! That's my luggage." Karen didn't even flinch. "It's all of yours. All of you are letting them get away with this. I'm getting off this plane." Her words were nonsense, but her conviction was terrifying. Her eyes were wild, scanning faces, daring someone to challenge her. She was past reason. Past embarrassment. Past anything that resembled logic or restraint. Flight attendant Mark moved swiftly up the aisle, posture tense but voice calm. He dealt with difficult passengers before, but this was something else. "Ma'am," he said, careful to keep his tone even, "I've informed the captain about your concerns. But let me be clear, this plane is not turning around." Karen barely heard him. She was already moving, pushing past stunned passengers toward the front of the plane. She opened another bin and threw out a backpack. Clothes spilled into the aisle. A laptop case clattered to the floor, drawing a sharp cry from the woman it belonged to. "Subscribe now to keep enjoying the content." "She hit my bag," someone shouted. "Watch it, you lunatic," cried another, trying to shield their head from a flying tote. Children started crying. A man pulled out his phone, already recording. In the cockpit, the captain was receiving updates. He didn't hesitate. The intercom crackled, and his voice, as firm, composed, filled the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been made aware of a disturbance on board. For your safety and the safety of others, please remain seated. Cabin crew is handling the situation. Authorities have been notified and will meet the aircraft upon arrival." Karen froze. The captain's voice still echoed in the cabin, but it hit her like a slap. Her eyes darted around, searching for support, sympathy, agreement, anything, but all she found were wary stares and tight-lipped silence. For a split second, her bravado cracked. Her lips trembled. Her hands shook. Confusion flickered across her face, quickly overtaken by disbelief, and then panic. "They're lying," she muttered, voice trembling. "You're all just sitting there like sheep. You think I'm the problem?" A woman clutching her child turned away from her, visibly shaking. A man rubbed his temples in frustration. No one came to her defense. No one even looked her in the eye. At the rear of the plane, two men, broad-shouldered, composed, the kind of men who'd seen worse in uniform, locked eyes. No words were needed. They stood. Deliberate. Controlled. Silent. Karen saw them and backed up instinctively, gripping the nearest headrest like a lifeline. "No," she hissed. "Don't touch me." The aisle around her was chaos, bags everywhere, a spilled soda can rolling lazily toward the galley. She took one step back and her heel caught on a duffel bag. She stumbled, arms flailing, catching herself against a row of seats. One of the men reached out, calm and measured, and gently took her wrist. "Ma'am," he said, voice like steel wrapped in cloth, "it's over." "No. Don't you touch me," she shrieked, trying to jerk away. "Let go. Let go." She kicked. Screamed. Flung curses like daggers. But it was no use. The adrenaline was fading, and so was her power. Mark reappeared, breath tight, hands steady. He held out a pair of zip ties. "This is your last warning," he said, low but firm. "Calm down, or we will restrain you." Karen twisted in place, red-faced and wild-eyed. Her voice cracked with rage. "You'll all regret this. I have rights. I have rights." But no one responded. Karen, realizing the fight was over, chose to retreat to her seat, begrudgingly, just minutes before the plane began its descent. As the plane began its descent into Los Angeles, the tension was palpable. Passengers were practically holding their breath, wondering how this would play out. When the plane landed and taxied to the gate, two uniformed police officers were waiting at the gate. As the passengers stood to deboard, they watched in stunned silence as the officers approached Karen. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us. You're being arrested for disorderly conduct and endangering safety on an aircraft," one of the officers said. Karen's face twisted in disbelief. "What? No. This is absurd. I demand to speak to your supervisor." But the officers were already handcuffing her, and the rest of the cabin erupted into a chorus of applause and cheers. As she was escorted off the plane, her parting words echoed down the jet bridge, "You'll regret this. I'll have all of you fired." The crew exchanged glances. Mark shrugged. Well, at least we don't have to deal with her anymore. Anna smiled. That's one way to clear a flight. And with that, Flight 627's passengers, now feeling like they had witnessed a live comedy show, disembarked, glad to leave behind the drama, but certainly with a story they'd tell for years. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to help our channel grow.